Welcome to City Hall. We'll get started with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Rock Bottomley is the pastor at Our Lord's Community Church in Oklahoma City. He'll lead us in the invocation. Afterwards, I'll ask Councilman Gary Mars to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance on this September 11th, 2012. Would everyone please stand?
Good. Well, I think it's good to remember that it's 9/11, and I'll bet we can all remember where we were and what we thought that morning as we watched what happened. And just remember how stunned, how horrified, how vulnerable I'll bet we all felt that morning. This morning when I woke up, I thought of Psalm 127. It says, except the Lord build a house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. Father, we just acknowledge this morning that we belong to you, our lives are in your hands, and that you are what life is all about. And Father, we pray for the families and the survivors of 9/11. We pray you continue to heal them and comfort them, give them hope as only you can do. And Father, we just pray this morning, we pray for our city. We pray that you would release in our city just a revelation of how real you are and how near you are, how good you are. You turn our hearts towards you. Father, I pray for the mayor and for the council members this morning that just as they serve us, that you'd take care of them. Father, we pray for their families. We pray for their marriages and their children, that you'd protect them. Father, we pray for them personally, that you'd release just a revelation of who you are and how near you are and how much you love them. And then, Lord, we just pray this morning as they have to make decisions, you give them wisdom to know what's right and the courage to do the right thing. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Each month, the Oklahoma City Downtown Rotary Club helps us honor a Teacher of the Month. And this month, we are honoring Justin Portorkin as our Teacher of the Month. If Justin would come up, bring your principal with you when you come. We have a resolution. I'll ask the clerk to read it as we get settled.
Whereas Justin Portorkin has been named Teacher of the Month by the Foundation for Oklahoma City Public Schools and Rotary Club 29 for September 2012. Whereas Justin teaches orchestra at Classen School of Advanced Studies and has served Oklahoma City Public Schools students for 7 years. Whereas Justin has been honored as a Classen School of Advanced Studies 2012 Building Teacher of the Year and finished first runner-up in the 2012-2013 Oklahoma City Public Schools District Teacher of the Year competition. Whereas Justin has consistently led his orchestras to superior ratings and guided them to sweepstakes awards in a number of competitions. Whereas Justin provides a welcoming, safe, and enriching environment for Classen students. Whereas Justin seeks to inspire his students and strengthen the community through music. Whereas Justin Portorkin is described as having a profound impact on his students. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Oklahoma City that they hereby recognize and commend Justin Portorkin for his selection as September 2012 Teacher of the Month by the Foundation for Oklahoma City Public Schools and Rotary Club 29 of Oklahoma City.
All right, now becomes the suspense because we have to actually vote on this. Okay, I'll have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Let's show our appreciation for Justin Porticon. I mispronounced Justin Porticon's last name, so I apologize for that. I can only imagine what you would do to the students if they had pulled off that feat. But thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm really honored and humbled to do a job that I love and I've been called to do. I couldn't think about doing anything else. This is what I was made to do. Of course, you can't be a great teacher without great kids too, and my kids are fantastic. Really make me look good. They do. But as well as my administration, my principal Valerie Harris and assistant principals, they're just supremely supportive of what I do there, and give me anything that I need to make sure that I'm doing the job well and everything. I definitely also want to thank the Oklahoma City Rotary for sure for this recognition, and also the foundation of public schools. Wow. Do they make it so that teachers can focus in on teaching in the classroom? They take away the worry about money for things and supplies and everything, so the foundation has just really been a blessing to each of us. And again, I want to thank you so much as well, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. And on behalf of the citizens of Oklahoma City, thank you for helping our kids. Show our appreciation one more time. And now is a fairly sad time. We have to say goodbye to someone. Diane Lewis has been working in the municipal counselor's office for 37 and a half years, but no longer. Her last day was last Friday, and so how did she start her first week of retirement? Get her back down to City Hall so we can say thank you. We have a resolution. I'll ask Francis to read it.
Whereas Diane Lewis, Deputy Municipal Counselor, retired on September 7, 2012, after over 37 years of outstanding service to the City of Oklahoma City and the Office of the Municipal Counselor. Whereas Diane earned a law degree from the University of Oklahoma in 1974 and then diligently pursued a position with the Office of the Municipal Counselor, her determination finally paid off just about a year later when she was hired as an Assistant Municipal Counselor 1. Whereas Diane began her career with the city on April 1, 1975 as a prosecutor, and she hit the ground running. In just a short time, Diane was requesting additional assignments and responsibilities, and she set her sights on improving the operations and procedures of the office. Whereas Diane consistently performed in an exemplary manner and, not surprisingly, was promoted to Assistant Municipal Counselor 2 on August 6, 1976, less than 2 years after being hired. Whereas in early 1981, with her time divided between work and twin toddlers, Nick and Roger, Diane was put in charge of the litigation division. She continued to perform her assignments at the highest level and was promoted to Assistant Municipal Counselor 3 on August 13, 1982. Whereas Diane was appointed as Deputy Municipal Counselor on August 4, 1989, and in the more than 2 decades since, she has been as spirited and hardworking as that young woman beginning her legal career on April 1, 1975. Whereas prosecutor, litigator, advisor, supervisor, Diane has done it all, and she will be greatly missed by her coworkers and colleagues. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Oklahoma City that they do hereby commend and thank Diane Lewis for her dedicated and exemplary service to the Office of the Municipal Counselor and the City of Oklahoma City, and extend best wishes to her for happiness and good health in the years to come.
And Diane, the suspense continues because now we need to vote on this for you. We have a motion and a second. All right, cast your votes. And lots of green lights. Let's show our appreciation to Diane. Thank you.
Mayor, thank you so much for this recognition, and I want to thank you, and I want to thank the mayor and council, city manager, for allowing me to represent you and to sometimes be behind that horseshoe every now and then. And Kenny, I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be serving as a deputy municipal councilor. You are a scholar. You're wonderful. Great to work for. Council, I love representing you. You just help so much. City clerk, you have always come in handy because whenever I lose a document, as I know. And the city manager, when he was in other capacities in Waters, he remembers one time he almost had to bail me out with a specific judge when we almost got in trouble in Mustang. Mayor and staff, I can't tell you. Y'all are here, and I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to work with you. You are a wonderful staff, as I said the other day. And I would thank you so much for everybody for all this honor. And Mayor, you have done such a wonderful job for the city. My brother in Texas talks about the city of Oklahoma City, and it's all over the United States, that we are the best place to live, and you have done so much to make that possible. And the city manager as well, and the council. You have all done that.
Diane, this is about you.
No, it's not about
It's
you.
about us.
Thank you. And
Thank
my
you
boys
so
are
much.
33 now.
Yeah,
So.
you're up. Let's show our appreciation one more time.
Mayor, I got to tell you, in my previous life, I spent seems like many hours in front of Diane sometimes as the fire chief and now as a counselor too. But what I always appreciated about Diane is she never just flat out told you couldn't do something. What she'd tell you is, well, if you do that, here's what you can probably expect is going to happen. And here's our chances of surviving that. So she always gave that very common sense approach and would take the time to explain what was going to happen in the legal world with it. And I always appreciated that very much. So thank you for all your service.
Yeah, Pete.
I'm always amazed at someone with the resiliency and the ability to just make do. I mean, anyone that could survive Walter Powell and Bob Allen and Kenny probably deserve more than one standing ovation today. You've done a great job, and I've always enjoyed working with you. It goes back a long time for me, too, and I've always enjoyed your counsel and your just common sense approach to things. I've always appreciated it. Good luck in your retirement.
Diane, I would like to add, it's impossible to summarize a great career in just, a few seconds, but you had a great career. As I told you, you didn't have to go. You could have stayed with us as long as you wanted to. Really sorry to see you go. The first day you were gone, I said, well, I asked Diane, and you were already gone. So I just wanted to thank you for your many years of service. You and I started serving together, and you were in 75, and I came along in July of 78, left for a while, and then came back. But I've really greatly enjoyed working with you. You were always there when we needed you, and enjoy your retirement.
I just want to elaborate a little bit on that story she told earlier. It was about 1988, and we had a lawsuit. We were sued by the city of Mustang over water or wastewater rates, I guess, and it was before Judge Manette. And we were going late, about 7:30 into the evening. We were still going, and she wanted to keep going. And Diane had two small children she didn't have any care for them at 7:30 at night, and the judge was just furious. I really thought that Diane was going to be thrown in jail that night. And contrary to popular belief, I think I've only kicked you twice under the horseshoe.
Diane, thank you very much.
Larry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for the compassion you've shown my family through some challenging times, and God bless you as you go into retirement.
Yeah. And I don't know if the audience at home can see it. Yeah, Skip, go ahead.
I had the opportunity to go to the retirement reception on Friday, and one of the presentations was like a 4-inch 3-ring binder of all the published opinions that were Diane Lewis's opinions, that she was the attorney that started the cases or either finished the cases. There's not too many attorneys any place in the United States that could have that type of recognition in reference to your service and what you do in the legal profession and what you have done in the legal profession in representing the city of Oklahoma City. And so, and also I want to recognize the fact that this reception was sponsored by the legal department, and some of the best pastries you will ever taste is on the 5th floor. So it was a great reception, and thank you for your service to the city of Oklahoma City. A lot of lawyers will be glad that you are no longer with the city of Oklahoma City.
But none of the ones around here. Diane, thank you. We're on item 3C of the council agenda. I'll look for a motion on item 3C and 3D. All right, cast your votes. Passed unanimously. On to item 4, it's the Journal of Council Proceedings. Item 4A is to receive the Journal of Council Proceedings for August 28th, and item 4B is to approve the Journal of Council Proceedings for August 14th. All right, comments or questions about the Journal? Cast your votes then. Passes unanimously. And item 5 is request for uncontested continuances.
Mayor, a couple this morning on page 20, under item 8D1, page 20, item G, 2208 Northwest 14th Street. Request that that be stricken. We need to re-notify. Item J, 2212 Northeast 20th. We need to strike. There's a new owner. And item K, 2313 Northeast 24th Street. We ask that that be stricken. The owner has removed. Moving to page 21, under item 8F1, item D, 3700 South Ollie. We ask that that be stricken. The owner has secured. Item E, 1831 East Park. We ask that that be stricken to rework for additional violations. Item N, 2930 Northwest 21st Street. We ask that that be stricken. The owner has secured. And finally, item S, 221 Southwest 28th Street. We ask that that be stricken. The owner has secured.
Are there any other requests for uncontested continuances? All right, let's recess the council meeting convened as the Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority. There are 10 items. Comments or questions on the MFA?
Your Honor, I have a question on MFA-G. And maybe I've overlooked this before, but this is the first time I remember specifically an award for mileage cost. And was that mileage to and from a treatment facility, or mileage was awarded $468.30 in mileage. That's the first time I can remember seeing that in a...
I can't answer that, sir. I'll get with risk management.
There's no hurry on it. It's more curiosity than anything else. I just hate to see a precedent established for pay mileage.
Okay. We're voting on the MFA. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Adjourn the OCMFA, convened as the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority. 5 items. We have a motion and a second. Comments or questions on anything listed under the PPA?
Just a brief question, Your Honor, on PPA-E. This is a professional service agreement with the Stockyard City Main Street Association in the amount of $105,000, or not to exceed $105,000. Who pays for that? Is that the general fund, or is that the bid money coming back?
Craig, I think that comes out of the general fund, does it not? No, that comes out of the professional services. That comes out of the bid funds.
Okay, that's good. That's my question. Thank you very much.
Craig, can you answer the question about the workers' comp mileage?
On workers' comp, that it's transportation to and from their medical treatments, and typically it's just paid. We pay that for on the workers' comp side from the MFA. This time it was incorporated into the award, but that's what it's for. It's not usually within the award.
Oh, we're voting on the PPA. Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Adjourn the OCPPA. Convened as the Oklahoma City Environmental Assistance Trust. There's 1 item. Comments or questions on this item? All right, cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Adjourn the OCEAT. And at this time, why don't we move up items G1 and G5. This is from, is this from Section 8?
Yeah.
Yes, Section 8, G1, G5.
Councilman White.
Yes. Councilman White may have to leave the meeting early and ask that these items be moved up so we could discuss them while he was here. Councilman, do you want to jump in on item 8G1?
Yes, Mayor, I appreciate moving them up. I'm going to be a panelist this morning and this afternoon in a conference on local involvement in the political process, and so I'm going to miss a while this morning and I wanted both of these to be heard before I left. The first one is G1, has to do with the festival along 25th Street that's become a tradition now, and I think Jorge is here to talk about that. If you'd come forward and just give us a little bit about what it entails. And
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity, Councilman Peter White, Mayor, and the rest of the City Council. We are going to celebrate this year the 7th Annual Fiestas of the Americas on Southwest 25th, which is in the historic Capitol Hill Business District. And we are here to invite you personally to please join us Saturday, October the 6th. This great community festival brings out about 15,000 people to the area business district. It starts at 9 a.m. with a wonderful parade that this year will start on the grounds of Capitol Hill High School and go all the way to up Walker and all the way to South 25th and then right to the Capitol Hill Main Street. We have a day full of activities for the children, for the family. It is a family-friendly event. We have 2 stages with live entertainment and dance groups all day long. Donna Cervantes, who was also with Capitol Hill Main Street, was going to give you a T-shirt of last year's festival and a poster for this year's festival. I would invite you to bring that T-shirt to this year's festival and get this year's T-shirt this year, as well as a VIP pass. So we're happy to be here this morning to promote this wonderful event. We'll continue to work along with not only our volunteers, but our great board of directors, who some of them may be here this morning. Pat Lewis is back there with OG&E. And we are working along with the support and guidance of Peter White to help Capitol Hill Business District become the thriving business community it once was.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This festival is a kind of an event not to be missed. The food's great. Closes all of 25th Street, or most of it, and it's extremely well attended. Lots of music, lots of just booth entertainment, great food, just a good family atmosphere. Yeah.
May I say something on this? Each weekend, I always come downtown just to get a little bit more work in. You know, you really love your job, you just can't get enough of it. I'm kidding on that part. But I always either drive down Walker Avenue or Robinson, and from 25th Street, the Capitol Hill, the Commerce Street area, all the way downtown, you've got such great views of the skyline of Oklahoma City. And so often we fail to include bridging Capitol Hill into the development of downtown, but I think we should always keep that in mind, and hopefully it'll become more of a focus. But it's an ideal setting, I think, as we continue to focus on the Central Park, the river. It's just going to naturally draw Capitol Hill back towards the downtown. And while we talk a lot about the development of Midtown, Bricktown, and even going out west, and all the controversy about the Boulevard and all that, if we would just focus on bridging the gap between Capitol Hill and downtown, it would serve many purposes. It would help revitalize the Capitol Hill area, which is truly a historic area, and it just makes so much sense to really focus on this. So I hope everybody from the council, as well as everybody in the city, can attend this in a few weeks. And when you leave, try to leave, if you're going north, either down Robinson or Walker back towards downtown, and I think you'll get a great view of the potential of strengthening those two important areas of the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And in addition, I would like to invite everybody to visit our new website, historiccapitolhill.com, and to find out more information and see some of those great pictures of the past and of the present, as well as take a drive down current Southwest 25th through a video that we have uploaded up on our website. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and I hope to see you all Saturday, October the 6th. Thank you.
I've got to take an opportunity to pick on my friend just a little bit. We went through leadership together, and so I've known him for just a little while. And besides being a successful businessman and an entrepreneur and a leader down in that Latino community, he plays a pretty mean horn, isn't it? And you're going to be performing at this?
Oh, no, I wish I still had the time, but I don't. But thank you.
It would be worth everybody going just to see you in your performance outfit, I think. It's quite
I don't think I can fit into that anymore. But thank you for bringing back good memories.
Well, congratulations on a successful event.
Appreciate
down there.
it. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
I would like to add, I think this also shows the true diversity that so many times don't get emphasized as part of the city of Oklahoma City. And when you look at the Capitol Hill District and, of course, the population and the growing diversity of the south side of Oklahoma City, this is only a showcase of presenting the true diversity that exists in the city of Oklahoma City, which is another reason why I think we should wrap our arms around these type of programs and support them wholeheartedly so people can see the full flavor that exists as far as the population of the city of Oklahoma City. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And again, that's October 6th, yes. Capitol Hill. Pete, you also wanted to talk about item 8G5?
Yes. There's someone here from Rebuilding Together also. Yes. A little background from my standpoint on Rebuilding Together. It is another, this event they have is a soapbox derby of sorts. That's probably a little bit selling it short to call it a soapbox derby. Most of the big engineering outfits in the city put cars in it. It's another really great family event. It's run on the city streets on 5th Street. It's a Sunday afternoon. Thank you. And it is just an outstanding event. Also, I and Ron Milliken, my friend that's on the school board, serve as line judges, so you know they've dipped deep into the pot to find people. If they couldn't find anybody better than Ron and I to be the judges at the line, but the finish line, I mean, the whole event is remarkable. There are big engineering companies in the city build these cars, and then a lot of other individuals do too. There's two categories. There's a corporate class or an amateur and a pro class, and it's a great, again, it's on the street, a lot of activity, lots of great food, very, very family oriented. Bring your kids or your grandkids, they'll love watching it. It's just, it's really nice. So if you have something you want to say about it, I'd...
Thank you, Councilman White. My name is John McCarron. I'm with Rebuilding Together. Our goals is to keep low-income senior citizens in their homes warm, safe, and dry. And Pete, you did a great job telling them about the event a little bit. It's September 30th at 10 o'clock. It's on a Sunday. Usually we have about 1,000 to 1,500 people. It lasts all day, and it's like an old soapbox derby that we build. Cars, FSB is one of the participants, Freightliner and Draybeck and Hill. Usually we have about 32 cars, 16 in amateur, 16 in professional, and it is a blast. If you guys remember the old soapbox derby races, I mean, we all build our own cars, and it's a great time. So if you guys, we would like to invite you all to come down and have a great time with us, and I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much.
And it's also, as he says, it's also for a good cause. The money's raised. It goes to help folks that can't afford to winterize their houses, access for handicapped people, all kinds of things they provide, do a great job. Also, I want to thank the city. I met with with Eric and Dennis Clowers there on site a week or so ago to look at things they might be able to do very economically, but to smooth the course, because having when you see how well engineered these cars are, you'll understand that having a smooth course is important. I mean, bumps make a difference to them. So I'm looking forward to another really good event. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time. And also, for every dollar we raise, we give $3 back into the community as well. So just let you guys know that. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
I'd move approval of both of those.
Okay, we'll need to vote on them individually.
Okay.
But let's go ahead and vote on item 8G1. Motion and a second. Cast your vote. Passed unanimously. And a motion on 8G5, Pete.
So move.
Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. And I'll mention that the Rebuilding Together project is on September 30th. And the location is on Northwest 5th Street between Chartel and Walker, and on Lee between 4th and 6th Street in Ward 6. Pete, thanks for bringing our attention to all of those.
Thank you for moving them up for me.
Sure. We are back in the council meeting with the consent docket. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any individual considerations on the consent docket?
Your Honor, I have just a quick question on item K, 6K.
Is that K?
K is in.
All right. Anybody else? Larry?
A-O.
A-O. All right. H from Skip.
Since nobody else mentioned it, I would like to make a comment on item T.
T?
T is in Tango.
All right. Pat, why don't you get started with K?
All right, on K is a project deal to, excuse me, do some improvements at our parks, and one of the parks on the list is Martin Nature Park. And I'm sure they've thought about this, but I wanted to make sure they take into consideration the proposed walkability project we have at Martin's Nature Park.
Okay.
And on T, this is a agreement with a consultant to do some work on the boulevard, and I just wondered what the timetable was for us getting it.
They're working on it. They've identified a number of options, and now they're evaluating those options and trying to cull them down. And we would anticipate something coming back to council within the next, or to staff within the next week or so, and then probably a week after that, we'll probably try to get something to
early October, probably then. By
so
early October, then we get.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Larry, A.O.
Yes, I'd like to thank the Rydell Park Neighborhood Association for taking the initiative to work with our Parks and Recreation, and thank Wendell and his staff for putting this together. This is a way that the Neighborhood Association can make some improvements in their area to a median, and they've taken on the responsibility for maintaining it. It just shows that the citizens coming forward can make a positive difference. Rydell Park has been an exemplary neighborhood. It's in a very challenging area, but yet it's worked very hard to maintain the quality of life for its residents, and my thanks go out to them. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks, Larry. Skip, item H.
Your Honor, I pulled this, but I now see the concern that is addressed in the, this is an application from the Central Urban Development Incorporated for a commitment of $225,000 from the Affordable Housing Development Program. The question I had, I think, is now defined in here, that this is a commitment that we're making, but it is contingent upon their application with OFA.
That's correct.
Okay. So I would move this.
Okay. We're ready to vote on the consent docket? Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. On to the concurrence docket. A lengthy concurrence docket today. We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions on anything here? All right, cast your votes. Passed unanimously. We're on to item 8. We'll start with the stockyards bid. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on item 8A, having to do with the stockyards bid? All right. Comments or questions from council? How about a motion then? Okay, we're voting on item 8A. Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. And then item 8B is the actual ordinance for this item. Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Do we need the emergency on this? All right. 3. Got enough. Cast your votes on the emergency, and it passes 7-0. Item 8C is a public hearing regarding the airport rental concessions. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this item? Looks like one person has signed up to speak. Kevin, come on forward. You bet. Kevin, we'll need your name and address for the record.
Kevin Hutchins, Avis Budget Group, Regional Manager. My address is 3504 Preakness, Flower Mound, Baja, Oklahoma, down south. I'm here in support of the ordinance for 3 reasons. It's very common. The vast majority of airports have an off-airport concession fee and ordinance. It's legal. It's passed the test on federal court level, and it's fair. It levels the playing field for all players. Avis Budget has locations within the 10-mile radius, and we're just fine with this ordinance.
All right. We appreciate you coming down and letting us know. Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak on this item? This is item 8C. Larry?
I have a question of Director Cranenberg, if he'd come forward.
He's here. Mark, we'll need your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mark Cranenberg, Airports Director.
Mark, in the particular concession fee that we're talking about, there's a 10-mile radius.
Yes, sir.
Can you speak to the efficacy of the 10 miles? Why 10 miles? Why not 5? Why not 7? I've had that question from a constituent who said, why are you making it 10 miles?
Yes, sir. It's actually a reasonableness argument that we agreed with the rental car companies on the airport in the last concession agreement. The airport is required to have uniform rules and regulations, and that's by state statutes and our FAA policies. Since we have an on-airport concession agreement that refers to the 10-mile rule, then on the off-airport concession fee, we wanted to also make that a 10-mile buffer. It is reasonable to think that within 10 miles, an airport customer would rent a car somewhere in the community of Oklahoma City, for instance, downtown. It was not reasonable to think that someone up on Memorial, more than 10 miles, would walk into an Enterprise and rent a car. We would not want that person to be susceptible to the concession fee. So it's a 10-mile range that captures the airport market, both from an on-airport perspective, which was agreed upon with the rental car companies, and we want to make that uniform with the off-airport too, because the same reasonableness argument applies. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Any other comments or questions on this item? All right. How about a motion then on 8C? Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. We're on to item 8D. It's a public hearing regarding dilapidated structures. Is there anyone here wishing to speak under any item listed under 8D? All right. Cast your votes on 8D. Passed unanimously. Item 8E is a public hearing regarding a dilapidated structure that's in a historical preservation landmark district. It's in Ward 6 at 212 Northwest 22nd Street. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this item? All right, we have a motion, and do we have a second? Cast your votes, and it passes unanimously. Item 8F is a public hearing regarding unsecured structures. Is there anyone here wishing to speak under any item listed under 8F? All right, how about a motion then? Second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We're on to item 8G. We're now on item 8G2. Is there anyone here from representing this event, Schlegel Fest? All right, cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Item 8G3 is a request to hold Oktoberfest at McNelly's. Anyone here representing this event? All right, how about a motion then? Oh, are you coming up? Yes. Okay.
Hi, Council. My name is Brian Pittman. I'm with the McNally's Group itself. I'm one of the managers. This is a first-time thing. We're going to try to start holding kind of annually event for us. It's going to be kind of the same long lines we have our normal St. Patrick's Day festivities we have up there. Also, the same kind of a blocking up the street right next to our restaurant itself. Therefore, on Walker itself there. This is the time, there's nothing really going on in September time, so we always want to get people downtown, the midtown area stuff, kind of get the events going on again before we go into the next event, which is going to be the Ghouls Gone Wild, the Gazette Halloween Parade and stuff here. So I figured this would be some kind of a little situation. We can come around here and draw some people in town, into the midtown area also for the time frame. It's right after the state fair also, which allows people to get time to come down and stuff. So we're going to try and hold our first festival with regarding Oktoberfest and see how it turns out for us. So St. Patrick's Day always does a really good job for us. It brings a lot of people into the area of Midtown also, so we figured we could try something else now to get people coming down the area there for it.
All right, and Oktoberfest will be September 29th and 30th on North Walker.
Yes, sir.
Midtown.
It'll be on a Saturday there.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Motion? Cast your votes. Passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 8G4 is for the Plaza District Festival to be held September 29th. Anyone here representing the Plaza District? All right, how about a motion? Cast your votes. It passed unanimously. That's a good point. It's a busy time of year. All right, item 8H, kind of update some language from the Economic Development Trust.
Mayor, we adopted the gold bonds in 2007 with the election that was held at that point in time, and we adopted a strategic implementation plan at that point in time that has been under the administration of the Economic Development Trust, which is shepherded by Chairman Ryan and Member McAtee. And we've now have 5 years' experience with the strategic implementation plan under our belt. And as we've gone through it, there's a time to tweak some of the programs that are within the program. And Kathy O'Connor is here this morning to explain the changes to us.
Good morning. We just have a brief presentation about the changes that we are proposing to the city's strategic investment program. As the city manager mentioned, the strategic investment program was the policy for our local economic development incentive fund that was created by this council in 2007 prior to the general obligation bond election that was held in December of that year. And the city created the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust to administer the funds that were proposed to be created through the bond issue. And it was designed to be a deal closing fund to support the creation of primary jobs. And actually even a further qualification that they had to be high quality primary jobs, even higher quality than what is supported by the state's quality jobs program. The fund was $75 million that was created by a general obligation limited tax authorization that was approved by the voters. To date, we've issued $36 million of those bonds and allocated $22 million of them to projects. Currently, we have about $30 million on hand, so we've only spent about $6 million in providing incentives to companies to locate or expand in Oklahoma City. Several years ago, the City Council shepherded through some legislative changes through the state legislature that were designed to amend the state statutes to give us a little bit more flexibility in the language that we used with companies to support the creation of economic development programs. So some of the things that are included in the amendments to the policy are a reflection of those changes in state statute. Our current policy has two different parts. We have what we call the standard program, where a company has to create a minimum of 50 jobs, and those jobs have to pay an average wage of above the Oklahoma City MSA average wage. If a company is located in an enterprise zone, which is a state-designated zone where there are low-income populations, the companies locating there can pay less than that average wage. The program is performance-based. It's driven by an economic model that calculates the return on the investment of our incentives on a 5 to 7 year basis, and we usually shoot for the 5-year return. The jobs have to be created along with capital investment, and typically we don't pay out the funds until after the jobs are created. If we do provide the incentives up front, there are clawbacks associated with those so that we receive a guarantee if we are advancing the money. So far, we've done 15 of these deals to date. This is the project scorecard, just to give you a list of some of the companies that we've worked with in the past. They include several manufacturing companies, some of them in the oil and gas industry, some of them in automobile part manufacturing, for example. We've also worked with companies like AAA of California and Paycom and Blue Cross Blue Shield, which provide more financial services and back-of-house support for different companies. We also have a portion of the program that's called the Emerging Technologies Program. And this program was designed to be a forgivable loan program for small startup companies that were using innovative technology to create high-paying, high-tech jobs. We have only done one of these deals to date, and it was to create 15 jobs. The city's investment is capped at $100,000, so it's a pretty minimal investment for these small startup companies. I need to point out to you that at the trust meeting, we had proposed to eliminate this program from the policy. But at the Economic Development Trust meeting, they voted to put this program back in. So when we go through the changes, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the item in your packet may have this program deleted. The one that will be approved and is in SIRE today is the amended one. So the proposed amendments include modifications to the standard program, mostly to modernize the language. The major change is that we, in the original policy, we set the wage figure as a dollar amount. And what we would like to do is to change the language to set it at 90% of the Oklahoma City MSA wage. The good thing about our program is that it seems to be working. Wages have grown significantly in Oklahoma City in the 5 years that the program's been in place. Oil and gas jobs are heavily impacting the average wage. We still want to have this incentive available for companies, even, and a lot of manufacturing companies may not pay as well as some of the oil and gas companies in Oklahoma City. So what we have proposed is to set it at 90% of the Oklahoma City MSA average wage, which is right now about $42,000. The 90% would be $38,179. That's shown on the slide. The other proposed amendments include several new programs, some of which are not really new. They were spelled out in the original policy, but they were just kind of listed in a paragraph with all of the kinds of things that were allowed under the state statutes. And what we wanted to do was to spell those out into specific programs so that it was clear to companies interested in Oklahoma City what kinds of incentives we might possibly be able to provide to them. The first addition to the program is the Downtown Parking Incentive Program. And this is a policy that was created by the City Council, again, in 2007. It was designed to encourage companies currently located in Oklahoma City to relocate to downtown Oklahoma City. The company had to pay 20% higher than the SIP minimum average wage, and they had to increase their employment by 20%. They also had to park their employees in a city or COTPA-owned parking garage. This program has been funded by the general fund in the past. We currently have no active contracts in place. We had some in the past, but those have all expired. But we are proposing to move this into the Strategic Investment Program, into the GOLT bond program for funding. Typically, these kinds of parking incentives are only granted for a year, but we have looked at doing some to up to 3 years, so this language in the new policy would allow us to do that depending on the company that we're working with. Companies that qualify for this are not eligible for any of the other local economic development incentives. The next new program is the infrastructure program, and again, this is just spelling out something that we've really already done. For the Paycom project located off the Kilpatrick Turnpike, we provided the funding to build the infrastructure, the water and sewer infrastructure for that project. And so this just spells out that they could use their incentive money for infrastructure construction, water, sewer, bridges, drainage improvements. The second new program is the Land Assemblage Program. And we've been working with the City Planning Department and the Chamber of Commerce on an update to the Oklahoma City Comprehensive Plan, a study that looked at employment land that's needed for large office or industrial employers. And we found that the city lacks large parcels that are needed for those kinds of companies to locate here. This program would allow us to purchase or lease parcels to provide them to companies. And again, it would be tied to their job creation and the salaries they plan on paying as to how much they would qualify for. But this would give us the option to provide a site to companies. I think this is something that, if you think about it, we have done in the past. We've used city property in some cases and used our incentives to help fund the acquisition or improvement of those lands, like for the Dell Computer site. And we also, from time to time, have companies interested in the Will Rogers Airport, for example. So one way of looking at this program is we could use our incentives to help lease land at the airport and provide it to companies. So this, again, just spells out that we do have the flexibility to do that in our program. The next new program is the Leverage Fund program. And this program was designed to provide financing mechanisms for companies that are interested in Oklahoma City. It could be low-interest loans, a forgivable loan program, or other qualifying financial obligations. Again, it would be performance-based. We would have to consider mortgages or other ways of guaranteeing these financial obligations, and we'll be working on developing the specific underwriting criteria for these kinds of projects. I do think that this program gives us a little bit of flexibility to possibly help smaller businesses. A lot of times we get criticized that we can only help pretty big companies or pretty large-scale expansions, but I think a program like this could be designed to help some of those smaller entrepreneurial companies that are creating primary jobs in Oklahoma City but may not qualify for the standard program that we have in our policy. The next one. And I think that is it. I will be glad to answer any questions. Again, as I mentioned, in the original policy, we had proposed eliminating the Emerging Technologies program. The trust, the Economic Development Trust, felt that if we're really looking to add to our flexibility and have a program that could appeal to a broader range of companies, that we should leave that program in. It has not been used very widely, but it has been added back to the policy.
All right, questions for Kathy?
Do you have any concerns as it relates to your initiative to address certain geographical areas of the city in reference to the retail leakage that exists in certain parts of Oklahoma City, that some areas was once growing and vibrant that are now the retail has shrunk. Some of it has never been and continues to deteriorate in reference to some of the conditions of the area. I speak specifically for Northeast Oklahoma City, and I'm sure I have witnessed some of the same issues that exist in Northeast Oklahoma City that exist in, some parts of the south part of Oklahoma City. And I would think that there could be or should be some type of initiative under this program to address some of those parts of the city that you could direct or at least emphasize some of the land acquisition and the development that could occur for economic purposes for certain parts of Oklahoma City, and especially for Northeast Oklahoma City. That's who I represent, and I get a continued voice from citizens who feel like that, they continue to be disenfranchised in reference to quality development in the northeast quadrant of Oklahoma City.
This policy is not related to retail efforts. It's related to primary job development, which retail jobs are considered secondary jobs in the economy. We have other policies and other studies that are underway to look at the retail development in Oklahoma City. We're working with the planning department right now on a study to develop some information about retail areas that may need additional analysis or study in the future. Northeast Oklahoma City has some of those in that study. But this program, by the council's policy that was adopted in 2007, was really related to primary jobs. And, you know, primary jobs are those that can export goods or services outside of the city limits and bring wealth back to Oklahoma City. Retail jobs, restaurant jobs, hospitality jobs are not really addressed under this policy, but we do have other retail incentive policies that we look at those and try to help different areas.
But you're talking about basically land acquisition in a lot of these projects as it relates to bringing companies to Oklahoma City. And in your position and the trust, do you not try to direct companies to certain areas of the city where you have assembled land to give them choices in reference to what may be a deal breaker in reference to whether or not the city participates in the transfer of the land and the infrastructure?
Well, first of all, the city has really very little land available to offer to industrial or office companies that are interested in Oklahoma City. What we have to do is we work with the private sector to identify sites that are available in different areas, and we offer them sites all over Oklahoma City, but they have to meet that company's criteria. And sometimes it's the size of the site or the availability of infrastructure. There can be a lot of different factors, but we work with companies and get them to look all over Oklahoma City. We don't necessarily have, right now, we don't have a lot of availability of public land that we can offer to them in economic development proposals. But one of the things that we are looking at is whether or not we should begin to somehow reserve industrial sites for some of these larger companies, and whether that's through zoning or leasing or actual acquisition. Those decisions will still have to be made by the City Council and the Trust. But obviously we can look at Northeast Oklahoma City and the availability of those kinds of sites that would fit the criteria.
Well, that's basically what I was talking about.
We've not acquired any land under this policy up to date. And we use representatives from the chamber as the primary group that goes out and solicits new business to Oklahoma City. And the purpose of this particular amendment, the plan, was to acquire land or be able to offer large blocks of land to a prospective industrial customer who needed a big acreage. There's no shortage of smaller sites in Oklahoma City. And so that's not a target we would put on our radar. What we are trying to do is to fill a need that is not available right now. And we've not done it. We've got some concerns at the trust level about going ahead with this program. But we'll have to satisfy ourselves that what we do is in the best interest of all our citizens before we do anything in the area.
Mayor, yes. This kind of development is and this is somewhat in response to what Skip said, it's really kind of a double-edged sword with regard to the kind of development you're talking about. In many instances, the development, there's a huge area southeast that's set out for this very kind of development. But as we've been successful in attracting business to that area, it has not followed that good residential housing came about as a result of that, or that retail came. And basically it's because good high-end retail and high-end housing doesn't want to locate near industrial sites. And so it's not a panacea for the kind of residential retail, low, a commercial area. It's a job creator. I mean, as I drive down I-240, I look at all those jobs there and often wonder where they live, because I know most of them don't live in Ward 4, but the businesses are there, Quad Graphics there, Tinker's there, GM was there. I mean, all those, we've set aside some of those great big sites for the expansion of Boeing, but it doesn't necessarily follow that high-end retail and quality residential development.
Well, and residential doesn't want to locate, I mean, industrial doesn't want to locate next to residential, and that's where we're beginning to have some problems with encroachment of residential development into larger tracts.
I had there was a case that was before the council just recently two actually. There's the increase in the size of the landfill and also the scrap project. Those were opposed by residential uses, and so it comes with a price to be on this list, I can tell you.
All right. David, then Larry.
Kathy, on page 2, the chart that shows the standard program scorecard, that far column, estimated investment, what does that represent?
That represents their capital investment.
Okay.
And equipment.
Okay. Do you all attempt to translate this additional new payroll and the investment as to its economic impact on the city? And
yeah, that's what we do. We use an economic model, and we plug in the jobs they're going to create and the payroll and the investment they're going to make, and we even put it in over the years that they're going to do it, and we calculate the economic impact of those jobs.
Now, that economic impact, is it solely related to sales tax as it impacts the city? No. Okay.
It's all taxes, property tax, sales tax, income tax. And we don't, obviously the city doesn't benefit from all of those things, but obviously the state and the broader community do.
Well, yes, and perhaps it would be a time where maybe, and I know they do, but especially say like with the county and other government entities that do benefit from it, become more of a partner in this process instead of it just solely being at the city level or the chamber.
Well, this program works really in conjunction with the state quality jobs program, and we consider the state especially a very strong partner in economic development. The state quality jobs program is probably the premier state incentive program in the country, and we've kind of modeled this program after that for ease of administration for the companies and ourselves, and we really do work closely with them.
Thank you.
Skip. Kathy, under the standard program scorecard, the grocery supply acquisition group, what is that?
That is Nash Finch, and they provide commissary supplies to the commissary at Tinker and Fort Sill, and they're a grocery supplier to military installations.
So that they build a building here?
They actually purchased 2 old warehouses along I-35 and completely renovated them and expanded one of them and are located there.
I was just curious because it said that currently negotiating an agreement. So are these figures representative of what they have? We have an agreement with them?
We've already gone to the trust with this one, and the trust has approved an allocation of funding to them, and then we come back later with the final agreement. The trust authorizes the general manager to negotiate with the company to a certain amount of money, and that's what these numbers represent.
Okay.
Larry?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Councilman Ryan has already alluded to how he put it, concerns on the trust. Those concerns on the trust mainly relate to me because I have some concerns and just like to mention them for your consideration. The standard program that was approved and has been in effect since 2007 has worked very, very well. If you go down the scorecard here to the companies that have created jobs and the monies that have been given them based on their performance, and in the case of Paycom, paying for their infrastructure with the clawback. Each one of those situations has worked very, very well and has produced positive results for the citizens of Oklahoma City. Kathy has made a very good presentation by saying that what is desired is to extend the flexibility of the current standard program. She used the term flexibility, and that's what two of the options do here. The leverage fund program and the land assemblage program do extend the flexibility. They are consistent with state law, but in extending the flexibility, there's a four-letter word that kicks in here. When I extend flexibility, I also increase risk. And this does, in my opinion, increase risk. And it does, in the case of the leverage fund program, put us in the banking business of funding or giving capital money to small companies, as Kathy said, to help them locate here. And in the land assemblage program, it puts us in the real estate business of taking gold money, going out and purchasing blocks of land, betting on the come with no prospect immediately in hand. And I think that risk is something that the council needs to consider. The Economic Development Trust assured me that if this was passed as is, correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy, that we would, when every transaction that fitted into the leverage fund program or land assemblage program came up, that the Economic Development Trust would have the option to review it with a fine-tooth comb to see if we wanted to go ahead with it or not. And so that protection is there, but I just question whether this is a direction we want to go, and that's why I raise it right now. Thank you, Your Honor.
Right.
Yeah, David?
Well, in response to that, Larry, and I agree 100%. I appreciate you bringing that out. It would be helpful, not today, but sometime in the future, if we could see a chart for the total return that's generated from these past activities. Granted, there's risk in everything, but if we see that the return, how the size of the return may help us feel a little bit more comfortable about that potential risk. Not potential, the existence of risk.
Well, the risk in the current programs that we've done so far, if a company does not perform up to the requirements, we don't give any money for that incentive. It's all performance-based, with the exception of Paycom, where there was clawback, and that has worked very, very well. So there is virtually no risk under the standard program. Was that it?
That's correct.
Okay, so...
No, I understand. And the point I'm just wanting to make is that there is risk in certain types of activities, but we have to look at the potential return on that. And if we could have that information in the future sometime, Kathy, I think that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Is it my understanding, Councilman McAtee, that the present trust, it's all deliver and receive? In other words, if they don't deliver, they don't receive, right?
Right.
Okay. Under this program, we would be doing what is different than that?
Well, potentially nothing. I mean, because each individual transaction would be considered separately, and I think there's ways, even with the land assembly program or the leverage program, that you can put mechanisms in place that help to minimize that risk, whether it's a mortgage on the property or some kind of security that's, a personal guarantee on a loan. There's lots of different ways that we can minimize risk if we decide to undertake some of these other options. When we negotiated with Dell Computers, for example, we provided to them a piece of city land, and they had to meet certain job thresholds before they received, job creation thresholds before they received title to that land. So there's things like that, they take on some risk of building a building on a piece of land they don't own, and we can mitigate that risk by not providing them the land until they meet their job creation thresholds or investment thresholds. So I think that even though there would be more risk associated with those kinds of programs, there are tools that we can use to mitigate some of that risk.
Because we would always have an indebted lien and mortgage on the property.
Right. Until certain conditions are satisfied, and then we would release the mortgage.
And the land assembly, I mean, we've been doing this under the urban renewal program.
Well, I mean, and actually not even urban renewal as much as some of the other trusts that the city and the county has, like the Oklahoma Industries Authority and the Oklahoma City Industrial and Cultural Facilities Trust, have a long history of acquiring sites for industrial development. And, they did Western Electric and Tinker Air Force Base, and a lot of the premier economic development projects in the 60s in Oklahoma City were done by those trusts acquiring land. So.
Right. Kathy, thank you.
Thank you.
We need a motion on 8H. All right. Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Item 8I, I understand we do not need executive session?
That's correct.
All right. How about a motion? Okay. Cast your votes. Item struck. Item 8J, though, I understand we do need executive session.
That's correct.
How about a motion and second to move it to executive session? Cast your votes there, and that item moves to executive session. Item 8K is claims recommended for denial. Is there anyone here wishing to speak under any item listed under 8K? All right, how about a motion? Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. And item 9 is items from council. Gary, you want to get us started? All right, Larry?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Of course, tonight is the major neighborhood night out. Some of the neighborhoods in Ward 3 have already celebrated neighborhood night out with functions. River Park and John Glenn 2 had great outings on this past Saturday. Meridian Hills / Manor had a great outing last night. Tonight, the ones that I'm aware of include Hilldale, Windsor Forest, and Fawn Valley. So looking forward to getting together with those neighborhoods, and thank you to Neighborhood Alliance for encouraging these neighborhood night outs. Thank you.
All right, Larry, thank you. David?
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, I just want to echo Councilman McAtee's comments. I know in Ward 5 they are going on the various neighborhood association meetings throughout this week, including this Saturday. And again, I do encourage all citizens to attend their local neighborhood association meeting, and I plan to attend several of them. Secondly, I just want to say that last week's meeting with the Tulsa City Council was, I think, a great first step that I hope will continue on over the next several years. It's interesting to think in terms of the economic output that both Oklahoma City and Tulsa generate for the state, and I just think there's a lot of potential with these two cities working together. Thank you.
Skip? Pat? All right. City manager reports. We have a couple of presentations today.
We do. David Todd is going to update us on the Maps for Kids program. There's a lot going on out there and some successes we want to share with you this morning. Morning, David.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here today to give you this update on Maps for Kids. As Mr. Cutt said, there's a lot going on still with the schools in this program. So real quickly, as a refresher, there was a 7-year collection, estimated $512 million collected. Collections ended in December of 2008, total $514 million. There was also a bond proposition same day that funded the schools. You can see that how the bond money was spent on the schools, but then also the tax money was split 70-30, 30% going to the suburban schools, which was about $150 million to 23 different districts. Right off the first part of the program, there was some technology that was done. There was some transportation done. There were some buses that were bought, about $9 million worth of buses, and $52 million in technology projects, which included computers, phone systems, software, that kind of stuff, network installations. This is a map showing the 23 suburban school districts, and you can see it extends from Union City all the way out to McLeod and Little Axe, and then all the way up to Luther. So it is quite an extensive map here. This is a chart showing you of the suburban schools, how much they have spent and how much they have remaining. You can see that some have spent quite a bit, so this Master Kids money has benefited a lot of kids, even in the other school districts. And you can see that some of them, like I said, have got their accounts down to zero. Some still have a substantial amount. Putnam City is about $5 million, but they also received the most of any of the suburban school districts. As far as status, we've completed 44 school projects, 45 early start roofing and fire alarm projects, and right now we have 24 school projects under construction. And as you can see, we're nearing the end of the program because we only have 2 schools that are in design, one to be bid in October and one to be bid in December. List of the completed projects, I won't go through them all, but you can see it's quite a list, ranging from high schools to the elementaries and middle schools. As I said before, some of the completed projects with the bus fleet replacement, 160 new buses, classroom computers, 10,500 computers were installed in 71 facilities. Then there was the portable presentation units, wireless laptop systems, 158 dedicated computers for the libraries, and then the network systems continues ongoing. Right now, the 24 schools that we have under construction, you can see them. They range pretty much in order. Their class in SAS, Capitol Hill are nearing completion. Then you get down to the Monroe, Parmalee, Independence. They're about halfway completed. And then you get over towards the end of the list, the Roosevelt, Emerson are just really kicking off, so they're just getting underway. And then the 2 schools that we have left are John Rex Elementary School, which is also known as the Downtown Elementary School, and Rogers Middle School that will be bid next month, and then the district administration building is also there. Just give you some pictures here of some of the projects that we have. This is Hawthorne Elementary. The new addition is over there on the left side. Back side of Hawthorne, you can see the new classrooms, the playground equipment. This is the media center at Hawthorne Elementary. Rockwood Elementary, new classrooms. There's the construction that's going along around the backside of Rockwood. There's some interior shot of the construction. So you can see that it's moving along. I wanted to show you this picture mostly because the construction on the right side of the picture is new construction. And then you can see that line right before you see the doorway there. The doorway is the old 1920 approximately construction. So the architect has gone to great lengths to match the building style and colors and not just haphazardly go out there and build new classrooms onto these buildings. This is Capitol Hill High School auditorium, renovation that was done there. And then this is the view from the stage looking out into the auditorium. You can see it's quite a striking renovation for that school. Some work at Spencer Elementary. Interior shot at Spencer, the walls that were being put up there at that school. And not only do we do schools, or classrooms, we also do the facilities that help the schools become successful. So this is parking at Independence Charter Middle School. This is a before picture of Independence Charter Middle School classroom, and there's an after picture, same room, same spot. This is the lunchroom at Independence Charter Middle School. This is a before picture of the hallway, Independence Charter Middle School. And there's an after picture after MAP's renovation was completed. And this is a space at Jefferson Middle School, new tile, paint, ceiling. There's another shot of the same area. You can see what a difference just the tile and the new ceilings make for that space. This is new entry at Oak Ridge Elementary. You can see also the media center sticks up there in the back. This is the new administration area, Oak Ridge Elementary. This is the entry there at the new entry I showed you 2 slides back for Oak Ridge. You can see the new graphics there on the floor that we're putting in a lot of these schools. This is the media center, new building there at Oak Ridge Elementary. Lots of natural light coming in. This is a before picture of a classroom at Oak Ridge. And there's a completed renovation picture, same classroom. There's the new restrooms at Oak Ridge. Lots of bright colors used in the renovation. This is Northeast Academy, a before picture. Renovations had just started, but it gives you a general character of the classroom. And this is the same classroom with the same floor. That floor was not replaced, it was just refinished. You can see how beautiful that turned out. Another picture of Northeast classroom. Same thing on the floors. This is a beam at Cleveland Elementary that all the kids signed. I think the teachers did also, and then it was put up in the structure, and it'll be there for quite some time. As I said, we also do the parking lots. This is a new parking lot at Britton Elementary, providing lots of new parking spaces for them. There's a renovated space at Buchanan Elementary. I think this is one of the more dramatic changes. This is a multi-purpose space at Eugene Field Elementary. And this is obviously the before picture, and there's the after picture after the renovations. And then this is a different view of that same spot. And you can see what a dramatic change this has made for that school. This is new entry for Greystone Upper Elementary. Greystone, you might remember that as being Hoover. It was renamed. It's a new administration area at Greystone. This is a before picture of the awnings that connected the buildings there at Greystone, and there's the after picture. This is a corridor, and granted it's during construction, but you can see the general character of the walls and the floor and just the overall, as I said, character of the corridor. And there's the same corridor after renovations. This is a hallway at Monroe Elementary after renovations. This is a before picture at Northwest Classen. You can see the ceiling, and there it is after. We framed that ceiling all in and put those lights away. And this is Classen SAS. This is what they call the alumni room. I guess the best thing to say is there it is now, all renovated. I think they're really happy with that space. It's a before picture of a classroom, Classen SAS. And there's after. Lots of natural light, new floors, new ceilings. This is the renovated locker rooms at Classen SAS. This is an interesting thing. I think this is a swimming pool that was there in the school, unused, just wasted space. We had the contractor come in, frame in the pool so that he could build a floor in there, and that's the space that it turned into. So we reclaimed that space that used to be an unused pool. There's actually several in the district. This is the weight room that's underneath the seats there in the gymnasium at Classen SAS. And there's the renovated space, just hadn't moved into yet. Here's Sequoia Elementary, hallway picture before renovations, and there's after. There's another picture down the other hallway before renovations and after. And one more picture here of Sequoia is the entry before renovations, and there's after. Sequoia Elementary outside had parking issues, and like I said, we're always trying to provide more parking for these schools so they can be much more functional. There's a new parking that was provided. Cleveland Elementary, this is new classrooms added on to Cleveland. There's an interior shot of that new area. Rancho Village is a renovation project. This is the new entry into Rancho Village. You can see the new graphics and the new front door. Really made a big difference on the school. It was built mid-50s, late 40s. Hayes Elementary Media Center. completed renovation. We also are administrating bond issue projects for the district. As part of the proposition, there's 12 groups of gyms, classrooms, and the 2 stadiums that we're administrating with the help of some district employees. So as I said, we have 2 groups under construction, 4 project groups are in design, and 1 is in consultant selection, and then the stadiums are in design also. Very similar program to the original Maps for Kids. There's the actual schools that are under construction. I'm not going to read them to you, but you can see the ones that are in construction and the ones that are in design. Here's a shot at Monroe Elementary. You can see the progress that's being made for new classrooms there. Concrete slab's not real exciting, but that's part of it. Wheeler Elementary. It's a new gymnasium at Van Buren Elementary. Gymnasium walls. So as far as future projects, we have the one that's in consultant selection that will be starting here soon, and then there's 4 more groups to proceed in accordance with the schedule, and we're doing approximately $30 million a year within the 2007 bond issue. So that's it. We continue to have monthly reports, semi-annual reports, annual reports. We have trust meetings roughly twice a month. So the program continues, but as I said, we're kind of getting towards the end of the Maps for Kids program, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Where is the school district with the site selection for the administration building?
We're meeting Friday with administration staff to discuss our options. The planning department has reviewed, our planning department has reviewed and come up with some options, and we're going to discuss that with them on Friday.
About how much space are they looking for?
100, right at 100,000?
Right, 100,000.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions?
Just a comment, Your Honor. The pictures are great, and I think the citizens of Oklahoma City are very proud of what our school system in Oklahoma City has been given. I say given because the citizens paid for it. But we shouldn't lose sight of the bricks and mortar only a part of education. And we need to recognize Oklahoma City Public Schools for the accomplishments they've made. David used a key word in his presentation about Northeast Academy. It was Northeast High School, it's Northeast Academy. And eventually all the high schools in Oklahoma City schools will be an academy. And it is a school that offers in the normal high school program plus a specialized advanced program in a certain area. For instance, Northeast is science, mathematics, engineering. I think a key accomplishment just in the last month, why there was a branch of Beaker Federal Credit Union opened up in the new John Marshall High School because they have an emphasis in teaching finance, and it's staffed by school students out there. And I think it's a real tribute to the quality of the education the kids are getting and the regard the business community is beginning to hold for the public schools, and I think that's an accomplishment that our citizens can be proud of.
Yeah. You know, with the MAPS projects, it was so easy for our citizens to go see them. And when the Maps for Kids project started opening up, because of security reasons, you can't just invite the public to go walk in the new grade school and take a look. So these pictures are very important because I think people understand that their money was well spent and then the project has been a success, but they don't get to see it as well as they might get to go see at the Chesapeake Energy Arena or the Civic Center Music Hall. So these pictures are very important. So David, thanks for bringing attention to it.
Thank you.
Next up is our presentation on our Leading for Results. This is our fiscal year 12 report on citizen performance. Jason Fairbush is here this morning to go through some numbers with us. Jason?
Sure. Good morning, Mayor and Council. Actually, give us just a second to get the presentation pulled up. All right, we'll go ahead and try that again. Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased this morning to have the opportunity to present to you an overview of the 2012 Annual Citizen Performance Report. We just passed out a copy of the report to you. It looks like this document here, and I would just mention that the copy we just passed out should actually replace the one that is in your packet. We noticed an error on one of the graphs in the report, and we've since corrected that, obviously, for the version that will be published, and so you have the most current copy as well. As we get started, reporting our performance to the citizens of Oklahoma City, so they can be aware of what their city is accomplishing in terms of achieving goals and providing certain levels of service, has really been one of the long-term objectives of our strategic planning process. In fact, if you go back to the original council priorities adopted back in 2005, one of the key objectives was to prepare a report for the citizens. And so we do continue to do that, and most of the measures that you'll see in the report are very customer-focused. And so, of course, in this case, our customer are the citizens of Oklahoma City. So with that, I'd just like to mention this is the third annual Citizen Performance Report that we have published for the public. And after we concluded the report last year, we held our second year of citizen focus groups where we brought citizens in and we asked them to give us some feedback about the report. And we actually generally received some very positive feedback. Citizens did indicate that the information was meaningful. It did help them understand city operations better. In both years, citizens were surprised actually that we did collect and report this type of data, that we did set these type of operational goals, and they encouraged us to make the report, as easily accessible as possible. And so we will continue to publicize the report. We'll do a press release this year along with an announcement on okc.gov. We will use some social media to try to get the word out, and then of course do an article in the City News newsletter that goes with the utility bills. So we'll try to get the word out that the information is there. The other thing we're doing is giving any citizen that reviews the report an opportunity to kind of weigh in and answer a 12-question electronic survey to let us know what they think of the report, and also to get some feedback from them as to whether or not they think we are measuring things that are meaningful to them, or if they have any suggestions on what they might want to see measured. On the next slide here, we'll just quickly go through kind of our strategic planning process, because this report is really the kind of the culmination of our planning process. And I know we've looked at this graphic before, but just as a reminder, our planning process starts with our citizen survey, where we get direct feedback from citizens. City council priorities are updated every other year, as well as department strategic business plans. And then we use those department strategic business plans to help develop our budget. And the way we do that is we use those plans to develop program-based budgets. What that means is each city program has a set of performance measures that help us evaluate the results that are being delivered by that program, or the level of service that's being delivered by that program compared to the amount of resources that are allocated to it. And of course, resources generally are people in dollars or both. The next slide here is really just a list of the 9 council priorities, and we do understand that City Council is in the process of updating the council priorities that will kind of give direction to departments as they develop their business plans over the next few years. But these are the 9 priorities that are currently in effect, and of course we're in effect during the reporting period here. We've dedicated 1 page in the report to each of these council priorities, and you'll notice the bulk of your report is going to resemble this slide that I have here. It's a snapshot from the report where we try to clearly identify what the council priority is. At the top of the page, we have a brief explanation of the priority there in the middle of the page, and then of course the performance data we've tried to present in either a table or a graphical format. The idea is obviously to try to make it as easy to read and as quick to read by citizens as possible. We've also, again, continued with including the performance indicators in the report, and again, this is helpful for the reader if they want to quickly scan through the different performance measures and identify which ones have achieved targets versus which ones fell below target. And then as you look through the list here, you can see, for example, the blue triangle indicator will represent any performance measures where we exceeded our goal, and then you can follow the list down to the red triangle being an indicator of measures where we did not achieve our target. And so as we go through the next few slides, I'm just going to quickly touch on one performance measure from each city council priority, just to give you an idea of the type of information that is in the report. If there are any measures that I don't talk about in the presentation that you have questions about or want to learn more, we'll definitely get you that information. So the first council priority that we'll look at is preserving and growing citizen confidence. And of course, once the MAPS 3 initiative was passed, the next key result or objective was to adopt an implementation plan for MAPS 3, and that was accomplished within the last year with the plan being adopted on August 30th, 2011. In the areas of financial sustainability, you know, one of the best overall indicators of our financial health is our bond rating, and that bond rating, of course, is assigned by outside agencies. So these are people, you know, outside the city taking a look at our finances and assigning us a rating. And in FY12, we continued to maintain the highest bond ratings that are issued by Standard & Poor's and Moody's. And you have to go back to 2009 to see a year where we did not have the highest bond ratings that are available. Streets are one of the major areas of infrastructure, and of course, from the standpoint of citizens, we're all aware that that's one area they've said really needs the most emphasis in the coming years. When we look at street conditions, we oftentimes talk about satisfaction ratings or how satisfied the citizens are with the streets. This morning, though, I wanted to take a little bit different look at it and look at another measure. This is our average score on the Pavement Condition Index. And so what this does is it kind of assigns a numerical score to the average street conditions overall in Oklahoma City. And in 2012, we had a average score on the PCI of 57. If you want to compare that to the score of, say, a brand new street would receive a score of 100. So hopefully that gives you kind of an idea where we fall in that range. As an indicator of bus ridership for the council priority towards increasing the effectiveness of public transportation, we often look at the passengers per service hour. In the last year, we finished at 18.4 passengers per service hour, which, if you look back to 2008, you can see that since we've been recording this data as a council priority, we've seen steady improvement each year with our passengers in the bus system. For the council priority related to economic development, one of our key results is job creation. And 2012, again, was a strong year for job creation in Oklahoma City. We had 4,139 jobs created through the work that we do with the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber, as well as a strategic investment program that is administered by the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust. And of those 4,100 jobs there, 1,138 were created as a result or in partnership with the strategic investment program. So that means they paid a wage greater than the Oklahoma City average wage. In enhancing the quality of life, this is probably one of the council priorities that we are able to measure most directly. And what I mean by that is we include a question on our citizen survey that just simply asks citizens, you know, how satisfied are you with the overall quality of life in Oklahoma City? And so we have a real direct alignment there between the council priority and how it's measured. And looking at the results from our last survey, you can see we had 71% satisfaction rating. That's the second highest rating with the quality of life in Oklahoma City that we've had over the last 5 years. Maps for Kids, continues to deliver in the area of improving public education as they build new schools and renovate schools. In 2012, we finished with 65% of Oklahoma City public school students attending school in a new or renovated school, and as we heard earlier, the program is on track to wrap up quickly. In gaining greater government efficiency, that council priority really is kind of two parts. It looks at trying to promote regional cooperation between cities within the metropolitan area, but it also addresses looking at Oklahoma City, looking at ourselves and trying to make sure that we are operating in the most efficient manner as possible. The measure we've decided to look at this morning with regards to efficiency is how quickly or how efficient we are at responding to citizen service requests. And so you can see by the data on the slide here that of the over 20,000 requests received by the Action Center, almost 99% of them were responded to within 10 days last year. And if you look over the last 3 or 4 years there, you can see that we tend to do pretty well on meeting this time frame. And then the last priority that we're going to look at is ensuring citizen safety. And if you look in the report, we have a lot of indicators in the area of public safety or ensuring citizen safety. We have police, fire, and ambulance response times. We have some crime clearance rate data. We have some fire fatality data. There's a measure in there about warrants cleared in the municipal court. But quickly this morning, we just wanted to highlight this measure here, the number of traffic fatalities per 1,000 residents, and just simply point out that the data reported in FY12 is the lowest that it's been in the last 5 years. So with that, if we were to kind of step back and look at all of the indicators that are in the report in total and kind of come up with an overall score, this is really how it would look. There's 73 performance measures that we have in the report, and of those, we achieved or exceeded our target for 74% of those indicators. We fell short on 26% of the indicators that are in the report. But again, I do want to point out that if you're looking at the tables and you see the little red triangle indicating we did not achieve target, that is not always necessarily a bad thing, because we do ask departments to set stretch goals for themselves. We don't want to always put goals out there that are too easy to achieve. And so a lot of times you'll have to compare not only how did we do this year compared to our target, but also take a look at, how did things change since the previous year. And we do have all of that data in the report. So there will be some cases where you'll see a measure that actually received a red indicator saying that we did not achieve target but did actually improve from the previous year. And then as I get close to wrapping up here, 3 other things I wanted to mention about the report, because we've spent most of our time talking about the council priority section. We do also in the report have a section for additional discussion. So if a citizen would like to find out more details than just the data that's in the tables, they can read some of the additional discussion. We've dedicated 1 page to a real high-level overview of the city budget. And then we also have a page in there where we direct citizens where to go to get more information. And that's one of the things that we received from our focus groups, was a suggestion to address where they can go for more information. So we have a web page on okc.gov dedicated to kind of all this information that we've been looking at. Citizen can go out there and review the city council priority document. All of the department's strategic business plans are out there. We have past performance reports. There are links to the budget book, and of course the budget book is probably the best place to go to compare performance or the results that are being delivered by the various programs to the resources that are allocated. And then we have a web application where citizens can review other city department performance measures. So the measures we have in this report are really just a handful of the ones that we report citywide. However, if, for example, a citizen wanted to go look at other measures in the streets program and public works, they would be able to do that through the web page. And so finally, as I conclude here, I just wanted to kind of go back and look at a few of the council priority accomplishments. When we prepare these reports, most of the time we're kind of focused on how we did versus our target, or what level of performance did we achieve versus the previous year. We don't always get the chance to go back and look, well, where were we 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? And since City Council is in the midst of updating priorities, some of these we may not be reporting on next year. Obviously, that's still to be determined. But I did just want to hit a few of the highlights of some things that were on the council priority list that have either been accomplished or we've seen steady improvement ever since we've been measuring the items. So if you'll recall, the 2007 GEO bond election and the MAPS 3 election were both key result indicators for the council priority towards citizen confidence. Those both have been accomplished. We looked at our increase in public transportation, and from the graph we looked at a few slides ago, you can see that ever since we've started measuring that as a council priority, we've seen some slow, steady improvement. The citizen satisfaction with the maintenance of city streets, as you'll recall, during our last citizen survey, we had a satisfaction rating of 25%, and that's definitely not where we ultimately want to be. But again, if we go back to 2007, when we first started reporting this data, we were actually at 18% and have kind of gradually improved. So that's a good trend anyway there. There's a couple of other things I wanted to mention. If you even go back further than 2007 and you look at the 2005 council priorities, One of our goals was establishing a dedicated economic development funding source, and obviously that's come to fruition. Continuing the citizen survey was a priority back in 2005, and we've continued to do that each and every year. The annual performance report to citizens, what we're talking about here today, was at one time one of the key results for our council priority there. And so with that, I just wanted to, again, just kind of back up and look at some of the accomplishments we've had in these areas over the last few years, and I'll conclude my presentation and be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Jason. We appreciate that. We've come a long ways on our reporting, and I hope the citizens find it helpful.
Is this available online?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Comments or questions from council then on either any of the city manager reports? All right, let's move on to citizens to be heard. Is there anyone here that falls into that category? All right, we have executive session. We'll be right back.
We actually should recess the council and have the finance committee.
How did I miss that?
It's the next page.
Recess the council meeting and have the finance committee.
And we are doing presentations this week on our capital improvement plan. 3 departments presented this morning are the Parks Department, Information Technology, and the Utilities Department. And Wendell Wisenhut is going to start us off with the Parks and Recreation Department. Wendell?
Good morning. I am Wendell Wisenhut, Director of Parks and Recreation. Pleased this morning to talk with you about our capital improvement plan for the next 5 years. I always want to emphasize when I begin a presentation on capital budgets that we still very much appreciate the support of council and citizens to allow us to have a capital budget. We haven't forgotten those times before 1995 when we went 21 years without substantial capital funds. There's been a lot of progress made since 95, 2000, and 2000 bonds have passed, and we're very pleased about that and hope we've satisfied citizens with our work. You'll see here the proposed capital plan for fiscal years 2012 through 2017, totaling $87.1 million. And as a summary of projects by type, general park improvements total $32.3 million. Facility improvements, buildings and the like, are proposed at $47.3 million, and paving, walks, paths, trails, and the like are at $7.5 million. This pie chart gives you a more graphic depiction of those projects by type. As you can see, facility improvements is the largest project type. Projects by funding source are denoted here in this pie chart. I've already mentioned to you that GO bonds are the life's blood of our capital program, and you can see by that chart that much of that $87 million in our CIP budget is funded by GO bonds. I would also mention to you that the percentage of unfunded projects in our department at 34.9% to a large extent is taken up by 2 projects. $15 million for the renovation of the 3D Theater at Civic Center Music Hall, which was not renovated during the time that the rest of the building was renovated, at about $15 million. And we've also included $10 million for a Northeast Family Aquatic Center. So as you can see, much of that unfunded amount is taken with those 2 projects. To give you some indication of projects that we've done in the recent past, we have now completed the Will Rogers Garden Arboretum project as a beautiful new park improvement, partially funded by bonds and partially funded by the Oklahoma City Community Foundation. It's already being heavily used, another beautiful facility in that very historic and beautiful park, Will Rogers Park. And as you saw when you walked in this morning, work is being done to complete the Bicentennial Park project. Furious work over there to complete that park. We also are anticipating Kerr Park improvements, and you approved an agreement this morning between Sandridge and the city that will allow us to partner on the improvements and renovation of that park. And you'll see future items come before you for a vote as well before dirt is turned. Memorial Park is one of our most important inner-city parks at Northwest 36th, bounded by Western and Classen. That park will be totally renovated. It's beginning to fray at the edges. It certainly needs work. It'll be a park that the community is really proud of when we're completed with that. Facility improvements that are almost complete include the Ed Locken Conservatory at Will Rogers Gardens. We were so pleased that we were able to put that in the bond issue as a project because that facility was really in bad shape and was in danger of needing to be closed because of its condition. It'll soon be open, and we are sure that the visitors to the park will very much enjoy that. Early Wine Family Aquatic Center received an improvement recently in the terms of a new slide, a very large slide, has renewed the interest in that beautiful pool. Our attendance was record-breaking over the last couple of years, especially with the heat that we've all had to live with. We've recently completed the total renovation of Schilling Community Center in southeast Oklahoma City. It may be our best equipped community center now. It's very busy. The community is heavily using that beautiful new center.
Where is that, the Schilling?
Southeast 25th and Durland. And Lincoln Golf Course Clubhouse will soon be replaced in projects that you've recently approved as well. The clubhouse does need to be replaced, and we're very pleased to see that happening. We continue to, we think, succeed with our projects to hard surface trails and make them fully accessible. You'll all remember the project as it began at DeLisi Park. That project's long finished, and since we've seen the hard surfacing go in there, we've seen a dramatic increase in the use of that trail, and of course, it is now fully accessible. The Arboretum Trail in Will Rogers Park is completed. It's the first time we've had an accessible trail out through the Tree Museum or Arboretum at Will Rogers Park. It's a very beautiful area that I would hazard to guess most people in Oklahoma City have not experienced because it was difficult to get to, but it's now finished and it's a beautiful walk. We also have projects to allow us to continue working on our paving needs in parks, of which we have a great deal. So paving, walks, paths, and trails will continue to receive work in our upcoming projects. Again, we're just exceptionally pleased that we have such a good CIP budget funded. There will always be some that's unfunded in any budget, but the amount that's funded is going to allow us to continue to make progress in the park system toward making ours the most exemplary park in the country. We have that as a realistic goal. And with that, thank you very much.
Questions for Wendell?
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Shad Meldrum with the IT department.
Good morning. My name is Shad Meldrum. I'm here to present the IT 5-year capital improvement plan to you. This involves technology for all city departments, so this isn't just IT. Next slide, please. This shows the capital expenditures by project type, and I'll discuss these project types as we go through. The plan includes a total of $60 million. I would note there that the radio system, which we'll have to upgrade within the next 5 years, totals $35 or $36 million approximately. Next slide. This shows the various funding sources that are planned for these projects over the next 5 years. There's been lots of funding sources for technology projects for the city. I would note there that as far as general fund type projects, that there's about $3.9 million that is a funding unfunded right now. As far as the public safety projects related to the radio system, there's about $24.6 million that is unfunded at this point in time. Next slide. The first major area is citywide ongoing infrastructure capital needs. So with all the technology we've implemented over time, this is basically the maintenance of that technology. So approximately $1 million per year is required to maintain technology. Some examples of what that goes towards, servers and storage. Right now we run about 250 physical servers, running a total of 460 virtual servers. The important point there is because we're able to virtualize, we save money in this capital need and not requiring as many physical servers. Right now we run on about a 6-year warranty replacement cycle, again, to save as much money as we can. Desktop and mobile computing is about 1,325 desktops that we replace about every 7 years. We warranty those desktops for 5 years, again, to extend the life as long as we can on the city's desktop computers. Network infrastructure, we run about a 10-year replacement cycle on our network infrastructure. And then security, which we adopted this year to bring in and centralize for the city. There's about 400 cameras in the infrastructure. That does not include Will Rogers World Airport, and they have about 500 out there. But this would be capital needs for maintaining the CCTV system for the city. Next one. The next major area is new technology. City departments, especially general fund departments, always want to do new things, purchase new software, so this comes through the IT department to manage. We spend about an average of $750,000 per year to do new projects for departments. Some examples of what those projects might be. This year we hope to start the council chambers voting system replacement. This will be an add-on to the SI or agenda management system, which will hopefully improve the process of running public meetings. The next one, we're working with city clerk and various city departments, and that's an electronic bid tracking coordination system. So this will be online for people to submit bids and better manage that. One we just completed that's been very successful is a personnel online application management system. That's an example of another project that was funded with this. This year we hope to start the OKC.gov redesign and expanding citizen services on OKC.gov. The last would be something we've been expanding more and more, and that's tablets and other mobile computing for field users to be able to do their job out in the field. So that's been a success too. Next major area to note is public safety mobile data computers. There's approximately 850 public safety vehicles that all have mobile computing and communications within them. We have saved money by switching from a fully rugged to a semi-rugged laptop, so that has reduced the cost of that. Since they are vehicle mounted, that's not such a risk issue as it once appeared to be. But even so, we are replacing these on a 5-year cycle, and it costs about $1 million per year to maintain that infrastructure. Back on that slide real quick. This is the pictures up there show the new police vehicles and our staff out there at Radio Shop equipping those vehicles and trying to fit all the equipment in there. So that's been going on recently. Next slide. Next major area is a radio system upgrade. We currently run on system that's an EDAC system. That's going to be required components of that to be replaced within the next 5 years. The target date is mid-calendar year 2017. We'll need to be switched over on components of that system. Estimates right now are the cost about a little over $22 million to implement the new pieces to that and upgrade that system. $20.9 million or so is unfunded at this point. The note there is that the upgraded system will be P25 compatible. This is a new federal standard for interoperability, so this is the way all these radio systems are going. Some parts of our system have already been upgraded by federal grant dollars we were able to get, but we're not expecting those federal grant dollars to be available as we move into the next 5 years. Next slide. The other major area of the radio system is the handhelds and mobile radios. We project about $13 million to upgrade all those radios in the next 5 years. Part of this is a regular replacement cycle. Those handhelds and mobile radios have a 7 to 10 year lifespan, so they have to be replaced. Right now, there's a $3.6 million that's unfunded in that. The note there also is the radios that we are purchasing right now are compatible with our current radio system and will be compatible with the new radio system. There's about 6,000 radios on the system right now, and the reason there's so many is a reminder that as far as the city's radio system, these other cities around us are using our system. Bethany, War Acres, Yukon, Mustang, and then recently Putnam City Schools Police came on the system. Next slide. And that's it. Questions?
It's not exactly a question for you, I suppose, but are all the municipalities connected, public safety, on our radio systems?
All the municipalities
in the county?
I don't.
They talk to each other?
They can all talk to each other on the system. I don't know. Nichols Hills is not on the system, so it wouldn't be all of them.
Okay. Is that right, Gary? That sound right? Nichols Hills is not, but the rest? Okay. Other questions?
Has there been any studies as it relates to video cameras equipped with the vehicles?
We haven't done any studies. We are talking to police about some options that they may want to look at. I know they're doing some within the police department, looking at potentially license plates monitoring and things like that. So some of that is going on.
License plates?
Yeah.
Larry?
What is this license plates monitoring?
Excuse me?
What are you talking about there?
It's just something we've started to look at as far as mobile police vehicles with some of the information.
Because I had an inquiry from a citizen, I don't know if any of you else had, that was quite upset that we were looking at monitoring everybody's license plates.
Right. Now, you have certain entities out there that are upset about CCTV, and it's kind of the concern about government and Big Brother, and so the license plate is just one more issue, involving that. But it's being used across the country, and we actually are ordering some through our grants to see how those work. I mean, they're very effective. Basically, it allows them to check license plates much more quickly than an officer having to do it manually. It kind of takes the place of that and allows us to check more licenses on a regular basis. Officers can do it now, they just have to do it manually on their own. This is equipment that allows us to do it automatically. And as far as video, we've looked at video cameras in cars off and on for years. The technology now is to the point where we would love to have video cameras. The issue now is it's very expensive, obviously, to commit to equip every piece of equipment, since you have probably close to 600 vehicles in the field. The other issue is the yearly maintenance of that takes added personnel. The cost is quite significant. At some point, I think that we are going to have to move towards that, but we'll have to develop the funding, the annual funding for maintenance, and then obviously the replacement, which would take about every 5 years. So we've worked up the cost on those, but right now it's cost prohibitive at this point for us.
All right. Other questions? All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
And lastly is Utilities Department, Marcia Slaughter.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. We'll begin with the Oklahoma State Water Utilities Trust proposed capital improvements program. We always evaluate the CIP on an annual basis, but particularly at this time of year when we're making significant recommendations to you for both customer reliability and service quality. The Water Capital Improvement Program begins with the system as it exists today. We have 3 water treatment plants north of Lake Hafner, at Northwest 5th and Penn, and southeast of Lake Stanley Draper. We generally have water lines in the areas that you see on the map shown in blue, where we have larger pipelines. We look at the system's challenges, and we try to learn from weather conditions. For example, in the last 2 years, we look at what customers want, adequate pressure and flow, how to make the system reliable, and how to meet increasing demand. We have, as we've been explaining to you for a few years, challenges with pressure in parts of the system. We're working on that continuously, and we'll show you the capital program improvements that are making those go away. Of course, we have background plans that help us in the program. We made changes this year that reflect need for more reliability at the Overholser plant, because we'll need to use that facility, continue to use that facility for peaking for at least the next 7 years. We've adjusted project timelines again to look at demand in the system and how it grows. The water capital program totals $488 million. It includes improvements to each piece and part of the water system, particularly plants, pipes, and pumps. The program breaks down at about 29% for treatment and significantly 45% for a new raw water system, which I'll describe later. We'll be building 9.5 miles of neighborhood replacement mains each year for a total budget of $25 million. Continuing our westward expansion of pipelines, both from the Hafner plant and from the Draper plant, south and west, for a total of $45.9 million. We'll be making booster pump station improvements. We are beginning construction on a booster pump station site at the southwest corner of Southwest 104th and Portland, and building 4 miles of pipeline north from there now. We're making improvements to treatment plants. This is new flocculators at the Overholser plant installed after last summer. Total plant improvements are $141 million. This is pictures of our ongoing $48 million expansion of the Hafner water treatment plant, where we're adding 25 million gallons a day, or about a third of additional capacity, bringing the plant total to 100 million gallons a day. These are pictures of transmission mains underway. The white pipe you see on the left is steel pipe being placed along the new Portland alignment between Southwest 104th and Southwest 54th. The largest portion of the water capital program is implementation of our raw water supply plan. Work's been underway on this plan, I think, since the Atoka pipeline was built in the 1960s. But the time has come to add capacity to our system. The 90 million gallons a day we can get from the original Atoka pipeline will no longer be enough to meet our needs in the future. This plan includes $186 million for raw water supply improvements, beginning with the first phases of construction of the Atoka pipeline in the latter 2 years of this 5-year program, and also pursuing additional environmental studies to implement our next water supply from the Kaimichi River. The 2003 Water Master Plan recommended that we make better connections between the Draper and Hafner plant, and in fact recommended a raw water supply line between the two plants. We've been in study for over a year now on that project, and we have $32 million in this capital program for this work. What the design engineers who are studying the issue have come up with is very different from a single pipeline across the country. We anticipate having an engineering report we can share with policymakers in about 6 months. Something different, and yet we think very positive for the system as a whole. The wastewater program is built, of course, along watersheds. It uses the same kinds of values. It uses similar kinds of plans. We're making improvements to each part of the wastewater system. In this case, we made only minor modifications to the program compared to what you saw 2 years ago. It's a total of $164.5 million. We're making pipe improvements in each of the major watersheds to help add to capacity to carry sewage and decrease the potential for sewer overflows and backups. About 38% of the program is treatment. About 25% is those new pipes that carry additional capacity. We want to show you a few of our sewer construction projects that are underway. It's a TV inspection job and some dig up and replace work going underway. We're going to be replacing about 12 miles of neighborhood pipe a year and completing additional studies to make the sewers better for about $31 million in this program, making capital improvements to build capacity in each of the major watersheds at $41 million. It's a map showing those locations. We're going to continue to make improvements to our largest wastewater pump station, which carries about 40% of all the sewage in the city, and other lift stations, at a total of $13 million. It's a picture of the Witcher pump station improvements underway now. New pumps have been installed. We're fully rehabilitating that equipment. We're building a flood wall. This facility, which carries so much sewage, flooded in the 500-year storm a couple of years ago, so we're fixing that problem. Making plant improvements. These are pictures of our South Canadian plant and its improvements, and a flow equalization basin that's just been put in service, 12 million gallons in size. It helps hold peak capacity wastewater during wet weather conditions. We then recycle that water into the plant later. This also helps us reduce sewer backups and overflows. Total aqua program is $652.5 million. Just briefly, the OC capital improvement program is $24.9 million. 17.2 of that is big trucks. Actually, trucks of all sizes, brush trucks, dump trucks, CNG, fueled collection trucks. Another $1.1 million a year goes into big blue carts. Your 5-year CIP includes the CNG facility, which will begin construction shortly for CNG fueling at 11505 North Portland, our solid waste operations center, but also includes money for a flow and disposal plan for the long-range disposal of our solid waste. We need to know what happens, do we have enough landfill capacity, and how do we handle that in the future. So this will be a very interesting plan we have to bring to OC in pieces in about 4 different presentations over time. Happy to answer questions.
Questions for Marcia? All right. Thanks very much. You done? We're just hanging on to a quorum here, so we'll get to executive session and be back.